So I'm here today with Mike Smith of Wings of Hope. Uh, Mike is a non-profit organisation with Wings of Hope. They respond to drowning emergencies and recoveries, predominantly recoveries. Um, Mike Smith is a brand ambassador for AquaEye and the company VotaSafe. We've been working with Mike now for how long have we been working together?
It's got to be about 5 years.
5 years, yeah. Mike was one of the originals that first found out about AquaEye and wanted to give it a go. So I sent it to him and he liked it. He used it. He used it well. And it's perfect for these waterways here. He put it into service and has used it on. How many times do you think you've used AquaEye?
This year alone has been 325.
325 recoveries?
Assisted recoveries, yes.
Assisted recoveries. Lots of ruling out.
Yes.
Okay. Tell us about Wings of Hope, Mike.
Wings of Hope is a nonprofit. Everything that we do is something that nobody will ever receive a bill for. We'll show up on a scene with a command center, search and rescue equipment such as boats, ROVs, side scan, down scan, sonar systems, towfish, as well as live search and cadaver dogs, as well as about 14 to 15 handlers with those dogs. They spend their entire lifetime with these handlers, so the handlers know exactly what the body language of these dogs means at every turn of the investigation.
Yeah, right. So you got lots of tools in the toolbox.
We do.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. So when you're operating with AquaEye, tell us how you operate with AquaEye and in particular the layers that you work.
Primarily, when we first show up to a scene, we'll split up into two different teams. Our command structure, will identify with the people that are in charge of the scene, and our deployment structure will take and literally come out to a lake, a pond, depending on what the circumstance is, and we'll actually deploy the AquaEye first. We'll utilize that tool in order to do an initial scan so that we can say, okay, this area looks initially clear at this point, so now we can move on to our second tier of investigation. If we get something of interest off the AquaEye initially, well, then we'll send all of our boats and our equipment and our dogs to that area in order to either confirm or establish that there's nothing there in that area, so we move on to the next area of interest.
So you would say that AquaEye mostly is in the water first out of most of your tools?
AquaEye is the first one on scene that's deployed. It makes it nice because we can go out and say, okay, there's absolutely nothing here on any of our scans, and say, okay, we don't need to put our boats in here, or we don't need to, devote, the dogs or other, sheriff's department or fire department entities, to this exact area. In a lot of our situations that we go to, there's multiple lakes and ponds that are in that small area. So I can say, okay, there's nothing here. I can say this with a great amount of confidence, utilizing the AquaEye for as long as I've had, I've had the opportunity to be able to gain the trust in what this machine does, what it's capable of doing, and, be able to say, okay, there's nothing here. All right, we need to search for this person or this child, in this next body of water. And being able to do that saves resources, resources for us. We're not wasting time putting divers in or ROVs or boats on something that there's a very small likelihood that there's any interest there.
So exactly, you do a lot of recoveries. You travel long distance for recoveries. You travel all over different states. So you're coming in on a slower response and more well thought out. If the person went missing in this spot and hadn't been found yet, chances are that it was inaccurate information, and you've got to extend the search part out. So AquaEye does 165 feet in one single scan. It rules out a lot of area. You've ruled out a lot of areas with AquaEye?
I've ruled out a great, vast number of areas. Case in point, a case that we were working on not too long ago. There were 3 smaller ponds in an area, and then over by an apartment complex, there was kind of like a fire suppression pond. We were able to rule out, all those ponds and go to a suppression pond where subsequently we actually found the victim within 2.5 hours time. To where if we had to go in there and put boats in or other equipment in and do these areas, it'd have probably been 12, 14 hours So just the savings, as well as if we'd been, there initially on a um, rescue type of situation, we could potentially found that victim and been a greater chances of success.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, Mike, ultimately, how many AquaEyes does Wings of Hope need for your ultimate response?
Our ultimate goal is between 4 and 5, and the reason for that is, in a case that we worked recently, is we had multiple ponds and a retention pond for fire suppression next to an apartment recently. Um, if we can go in and eliminate these ponds, and find our victim in its location, you know, before we ever have to put anybody anywhere else, we're going to save time. We were ultimately able to find our victim in, around 2 hours, 2.5 hours, to where if we didn't have the AquaEye, then we would have potentially wasted enough resources, manpower, and potentially spent 14 to 15 hours eliminating these things, which also limits our response availability for other areas. So AquaEye, in that sense, and having multiple units in order to be able to rule things out is a time saver as well as a manpower saver.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Wings of Hope is a 501c3 non-profit, and they don't charge. These guys don't charge for any response, and they go all over, state to state. You mentioned how many hundreds of active recoveries or responses they've gone to. Um, if they do accept donations. These guys pay a lot out of pocket for what they do, a lot of personal expense, and a lot of time away from home. So if you want to donate to Wings of Hope and you want to help them out a bit, uh, you can contact us at VoterSafe, and we can certainly put you in touch with Wings of Hope. They'll be very grateful for your assistance. Again, we're not going to go on too much about that, but they would certainly put the money to the right cause, and it would certainly help with bringing people home to loved ones, because that's what they do. These guys do it very, very well too. So, but you mentioned your sister team earlier. What's your sister team? Tell me about your sister team.
Our sister team is North Star Search and Rescue. They're based out of Minnesota. Basically, every call that we go on, they respond with us. Every call that they go on, we respond with them. And it's a beautiful partnership because we've got the relationship to where we know what one another is thinking. We've trained enough with each other to where we can actively, progress the situation without having to constantly check in and say, okay, go do this, because we have a protocol that's in place that both our teams have established and we follow.
Absolutely. So do you get to see this team a lot, or are you divided, or do you get to work with them? You mentioned you do work with them, so is that often?
Um, Actually, I spend more time with them than I do with my own family.
Oh, right.
Which is not a bad thing in a lot of situations because they are family.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the dogs that they have over there that we utilize, both live search and cadaver, they become a part of your family too, and you miss them just like you would any other part of your family.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we mentioned that you respond to drowning-based emergencies, but Wings of Hope also responds to land-based as well, people searches. Tell us a bit about your other equipment.
The other equipment that we utilize, as I've said, we've got the dogs, both live search dogs as well as cadaver. We have aerial drones that is equipped with, two different types of thermal, which allows us to be able to peek down through canopies into buildings if necessary. We could actually see your heat signature. Which being able to utilize that, we can say, cover a vast area very quickly to where it would take, days with, standard manpower.
Yeah, you were just out last night.
We were out on a case. A gal with dementia had wandered away from home. No idea why, other than the fact she heard a sound that she wanted to investigate. We were able to use the drone and locate her very quickly and reunite her with her family for a happy ending.
Right. I'm out here in Loyal in Wisconsin with Mike, and Mike got a call out in the middle of the night, and he left me in bed. He left me to sleep, and woke up this morning, and we went and did some training together. But that's what happens. Mike gets called out all the time, and his teams get called out all the time. It's incredible what you do, Mike, and we do appreciate what you do for everybody, for those who lose loved ones underwater, especially. I mean, it's an incredibly hard thing to deal with, and we thank you and your team for doing that. We do thank you for working with AquaEye. You've been with us from day one, and your feedback and information has been excellent. And if anyone wants to help out Wings of Hope and talk more about AquaEye, Mike, then just contact him. He's always available.
Anytime.
And by all means, if you want to know more about AquaEye, contact VodaSafe Direct, and we'll certainly give you as much information. We do demos. We get a demo to you. We can train you online so that you can try it out for yourself. So thanks, Mike. It's been great seeing you. Great catching up again. And
couldn't do it without you.
Appreciate you, dude.
And like we always say at Wings of Hope, and it goes true for AquaEye, it's families helping families. Thank you.